If you're building a home for rent, the day that it's done, if you put 25% down to build it, you've doubled your money.
What's the number one secret to build to rent and build to invest?
The number one secret, which is sort of a secret, but it's the margin that builders have. So when we got into this, I mean, they're published. So if you don't believe me, I mean, the public builders, you can go and look at their financials. But, you know, a normal builder is probably going to sit on a 25% margin on homes. A really good builder might be in the 30s, and a poor one might be, you know, in the teens. But, you know, for our purposes, we're able to come in around 25%. And what that means is that if you're building a home for rent, the day that it's done, if you put 25% down to build it, you've doubled your money. The other part that's really neat is you've limited your downside. So I have some people that go, you know, well, what if the market drops? Well, on our homes, it'd have to fall 25% before it touches $1 of your equity. So I think for a lot of people, that's really attractive. So you kind of have a higher upside beta with a lower downside beta. I think that's probably the number one thing that when people hear build to rent, they kind of go, well, how does that work? And
okay, let me break that down, right? So what you're saying is the margin is about 25 to 30%, right? And so if you're doing the work and you took 25% down and you got a loan on the rest of it, the moment it's completed, and if you rent it out, basically you're already ahead 50%. Is that a fair summary, Mike?
Yeah, you're up about 100% on your money if you put 25% down.
Right, 100% of the money.
Is from a debt stack. You know, the bank likes that because you're coming in at 50% loan to value, right? So that's a pretty low risk loan. So you're able to get, you know, very reasonable financing on that type of an arrangement. But you're able to use leverage in a pretty unleveraged way.
Excellent.
If it makes some sense.
Makes sense.
And the biggest reason people don't get it is most builders aren't willing to give you the margin.
Mm-hmm.
So most builders will say, it's great. You can certainly rent one of my homes. It's listed at $300K. You can buy it at $300K. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And we've really kind of went and said, you know, you got to start from the very beginning. You got to do the land acquisition. You have to be able to build the home. You have to be able to manage the home. You kind of have to do it from soup to nuts to really be able to get the full value.
Excellent. What's secret number 2 to build to rent and build to invest?
Well, the cap rates end up being surprisingly high, and it's sort of part of the other one, right? So if you're buying anything at 25% below market, you're going to end up with a cap. Like, so our homes end up running a 7 to 9 cap. If that was multifamily, well, I don't know. You may know better. You're on the commercial side. Well, what are multifamilies trading at in California out there right now, Brett?
Yeah, we just did a deal for 3.7 cap here in Sacramento, 48 units. 1964 construction, mostly twos. C property, C plus, B minus location, but needed about 10 to 15,000, maybe 20,000 per unit for renovations with its cost of construction to get the rents up by about 500. So they bought it at 3.7, but that delta was about $500 to $600 per unit post renovation. However, there's rent control, and that rent control is limiting, how much you can do per year for increases, and also means most of the tenants want to stay because they know it's higher somewhere else. So the question is, how quickly can you get the tenants out? Is there cash for keys? Number of these things that are going on. So yeah, 3.7 for a recent deal that I just closed.
Got it. Is that fairly typical to have rent controls out there?
Yeah, I call it California now. I mean, it wasn't 2 years ago, but now there is. It used to be just kind of like cities like some Los Angeles or like San Francisco. But then about 2 years ago, they went statewide rent control. Basically, it's CPI plus a percentage, right? So Sacramento right now, you can still increase the rents by about 9 to 10%. So it's not horrible, right? But if you want it to go higher, you'd have to have the tenant vacate.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, in the Midwest, you just don't have that, barring out Chicago. But where we're located in West Michigan, I would be blown away if that ever happened, just with the different environment and things that are here. So I think that you've got a little bit more upside on appreciation potentially. And so I think being able to hit that sort of a cap rate gives you pretty strong cash flow. And I think relative to a multifamily seems pretty good. And that's kind of the other secret. We discovered this in 2007 when we started our management company, was that we ended up managing homes in 38 states from one spot. And technology has just fundamentally changed over the last 10 years. You can manage single family homes maybe more efficiently than you can manage multifamily homes. And here's why. Every single thing is remote. So electronic payments, everything's made on a portal. We do all remote showings. So we run it through a call center. So we can do showings in Hawaii, California, Florida, wherever. So it all goes through the same spot. So people get in there quickly. The only thing that's localized is your local trades and vendors. But it sort of forces us to call the right people. Sometimes when you have on-site management, they're trying to fix a furnace, but they're not really an HVAC guy. So in a weird way, it just forces us to say, you got to have an HVAC guy go fix this. You pay a little bit more, but it ends up getting fixed better. I think that is something that perception-wise, for most people investing in multifamily, they think single family, the management fees are going to be out of control. And they're not. For example, we charge 4%. To manage single family homes. I think that's pretty reasonable, and we can do that all right, just because of the huge technology improvements over the last few years to do that.
Excellent. So number 3 secret is technology, realizing that maybe it's a false belief to think that multifamily is going to be easier or cheaper to manage. And in fact, single family homes, and you probably have a higher quality tenant, a little more pride of renting, and you probably also have a longer term tenant, right? Is that a fair summary, Mike?
On parts of it, and on parts of it, it's the opposite. So I have managed real tough homes. So we managed homes. I'm from Detroit, right? So if you want to talk about some of the toughest stuff, these are the homes that you buy for $20,000 and you run on an Excel sheet and you go, man, I'm going to make so much money. And then 12 months later, you're like, this was the worst thing that I ever did.